Hello everyone, today in this video we'll fight against the enormous character of our world around us, and today we will talk about the reforms of the language. But I mean reforms that are about to unify the way how we write and unify the way how we speak. Many nations experience such reforms in recent centuries. First nation that took care, in quotation, for their language so much in a very formal way were French people, and they started after the order of Cardinal de Richelieu by founding the French Academy, so academy that its main function is taking care of the purity, guarding the purity of French language. Okay. Later, different nations in 19th and early 20th century had their committee just to unify orthography and other things which were different with respect to regional differences and so on. In Poland, first big orthography reform took place, if I remember correctly, in 1936. But later, during communistic era, when the education became massive and more committees which were officially taking care about the language purity and so on took place and started working, we experience incredible pauperization of the language, decrease of the number of words, the variety of metaphor, of stylistic and grammar form also decreased. If we, for instance, take and compare prose of the writers from the 19th century or early 20th century, like Mr. Wacław Gąsiorowski with his historical novels I really like, especially the ones from the times of Napoleonic era, the prose of Mr. Jerzy Choiński, his great historical novels with action set in the high medieval times or classical antiquity, and many others, we see how rich the Polish language is and actually was. But now, when we read prose created nowadays, we see how this really central governing of the language and regulations imposed by the state administration, by some scholars employed by the state institution, how their actions made the language poor and simplified. So, after thinking for a while, because I was never a linguistic purist, and to me, communication and the flow of the information is the most important. When I see how the language got actually simplified and how poorer it got after this all reforms and all massive education that happened during the communistic time and freshly after communistic time, uh, and how all of these regulations by these linguistic committees that took place since 1930s, how it pauperized our language. I'm not so sure if it was a good move to go this way, to unify the way of writings, to unify the way of saying things and so on. I don't think if it was a good move, because thanks to this move we are losing a lot of our artistic and intellectual flexibility that was encoded somehow within our rich language. And I think it happens in any other languages that were regulated too much by the external committees, by state employed scholars. This is my opinion. I encourage you for discussion. All the best. Have a nice day. Bye.